Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Nadine, and this is Legally Diverse, a platform I've set up to help aspiring solicitors reach their goal as quickly as possible, whilst keeping you motivated throughout the process. So today, I'm going to be doing an Instagram Live with Anisha Pavade. She is a family and child law solicitor, and we will be talking about a number of things family law related. So we'll be talking about her journey into career in law, as well as her day-to-day tasks as a family law lawyer, and how she keeps up to date with developments in the area. So if you're interested in pursuing a career in family law, or if you're thinking about taking it up as an optional module at university, stay tuned and we'll get straight into the Q&A. Hey,
Hi,
how are you?
thank you. How are you?
Good, I'm good. Thank you for agreeing to do my live today. Like, I've honestly done so many polls about legal practice areas and family law keeps coming up. So I was like, we have to do a live.
Amazing. No, I'm really excited. Thank you for having me here.
No worries. So as you know, my name's Nadine and I'm joined today by Anisha. And the topic today is all things family law. So studying in family law, practicing in family law. So yeah, I don't know if you want to start by just giving everyone a brief background and overview of your legal journey today.
Yeah, sure. So my journey's not too exciting, so I won't bore you too much with it. I did the more kind of standard route going to becoming a solicitor. I applied for primary school teaching initially at uni. Saw myself as a teacher, and then I think I got caught up with everyone kind of glamorizing law and making it sound so great. So I was like, do you know what? I'll do a career change. So I then changed my course over to law. I did that for 3 years at a non-Russell Group uni, and then after that I did standard 1 year at law school, and then I went to do my training contract. So nothing too exciting, just the standard.
You're a career changer. That's exciting. A lot of us just kind of go into law like automatically, but you actually had that transition. So that is exciting. I think I wanted to be a teacher at one point, but then I thought, realistically, I probably don't have patience for 30 kids all at one time.
Oh, definitely. I think I was a bit like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no. But you definitely still stuck in the whole family law idea. So that's definitely interesting. I think I noticed, and as you mentioned, you kind of did your LPC, like you self-funded it. And I was wondering what your thought process was in terms of that, because obviously you could have waited to get a training contract, but you decided to self-fund, like I decided to self-fund. And so I was wondering what that was like.
I think it's such a hard question because obviously of how much it costs. Like it's actually insane how much law school costs, and I totally get why people be in two minds of like, should I bother doing it or should I not? I'm quite a go-getter though, so the way my mindset was, I wanted to be a lawyer and I was going to go to law school. I knew that's what you had to do, so I wanted to get it out of the way basically. But I think obviously if you are fortunate to be in a position where you can financially obviously afford it, because I know that could be a massive hurdle, then go for it. The way I looked at it was, at the end of the day, you still need to do it, so you may as well go for it. I think the risk was still there because I was working in retail. I didn't have a job in the legal field. I felt like the chances were the same of getting a paralegal role or even getting a training contract. So I may as well go for do the 1 year law school and then see what happens afterwards. I'm just a true believer in everything really falling into place anyway. So
yeah.
You want to do it, just go for it. Everything will eventually fall in place anyways, and I think if you put the hard work into it, you will definitely get there. That's just the way I view it.
No, absolutely. That's exactly the way I viewed it as well, because when I did decide to do it, I was paralegal at the time, but I just thought, okay, if I definitely want to qualify as a lawyer, I might as well just do the LPC, self-fund it, and that way I even open myself up to more training contract opportunities, because not all law firms like fund you for the LPC. So I completely get that. Just the idea of moving forward was definitely something as well.
So whether you get the training contract or not at the end of law school, just by doing that 1 year, you're going to open yourself up to more career opportunities anyway. So I feel like it's like a win-win. It's not really a bad situation to go and do more education. It can help and further improve your position.
No, that's so true. Like you said, even if you don't get the training contract straight away, at least then you can get paralegal role, because also I know a lot of paralegal roles require the LPC. So yeah, more opportunities. Okay, that's great. So we did The LPC. So then after that, you started your training contract. What was that like? Like, what training contract seats did you do? How did you find the work? That type of stuff.
Well, so how I got my training contract first was I think during law school I wrote to a load of firms.
Okay.
Just asking, can I do a week here? Can I do a week there? Whatever they wanted to give me, whatever they needed help with. So I did. I tried a few different firms, and then after law school finished, I did a bit of a longer placement with one firm because I like doing these odd 1 weeks and odd 1 days. I know it's so hard to even get work experience, but you don't really learn a lot, I feel, and you haven't got a lot to talk about in a CV if you've just done 1 day. It's really hard to let it out and really flag it. So I started doing a bit longer. And actually, at the end of that placement, the supervisor there, the lady who owned the firm, said that she was looking for a trainee, and that's how I then got my training contract. So I am a firm believer in putting in the hard work. You will get there, whether you do the traditional route of applying for vacation schemes or whatever it may be. Just put yourself out there. You don't know who's going to give you that opportunity. So then, obviously, after I did the placement, it transitioned nicely into starting a training contract for 2 years. I did seats in immigration, which was part of like another firm I had to go to do a bit of immigration. I did family and children, obviously. Absolutely.
Obviously, the topic of the day.
I also did some civil litigation. And I think based on doing those different seats, I realised I absolutely hated civil, and immigration really wasn't for me. So I did start doing a lot more. My seats weren't so structured like other firms where you have like set few months, a bit of flexibility, so I was able to continue to take family law work throughout the 2 years, which I feel put me in a better position once I qualified. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've heard all the stories about training contracts, and obviously how people find them. I would say, honestly speaking, it's hard work. They can be tough, but also it's great. The ones that are closer to achieving your goal of becoming. And yeah, you'll have your highs. You also have
couple lows.
I think nothing's more worth it. Obviously, because I've gone through it now, nothing is more worth it than obviously getting that email from the SRA saying that you're now qualified. So it all makes it worth it. I think anyone who does a legal journey knows whether you're at uni or at law school, you will get there. It's a lot of hard work. It's always been tough. That's why not everyone does it, but it is really like worth it at the end, definitely. So. I say keep going. Even if you haven't got your training contract, just keep pushing in your legal journey, because honestly you will get there at the end anyways.
No, absolutely. And I think I definitely want to emphasize one of the points you made about like just putting yourself out there, because I know getting a training contract is hard, getting experience is hard, but I really live by the motto that like you absolutely miss 100% of opportunities if you don't just go for them.
100%.
And it's one of those things where it's like, if you ask and they say no, you're in the same position. If you ask and they say yes, you're 10 times better than you were before. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, you have to get the confidence to get in there, but if you just put yourself out there, one of those opportunities is likely to come up. So I think it's definitely an important thing to take away.
Yeah. I think you just don't know when you're going to meet people as well, like even like through mentoring as well. I mean, one of my first mentors I met was actually in retail. I was working as a sales assistant and she was actually a qualified lawyer, and by chance she was able to help with my CV and get things ready to obviously apply for jobs. So you just never know what your luck's going to be, really.
My experience is exactly the same. So I was I was planning to work in retail. So I had like a recruiter that I worked with in retail for like different places throughout London, and I gave her a call just to get some legal like work to get some retail work whilst I look for legal opportunity. And she was like, well, actually I'm applying for a legal role at the moment. Do you want to go for that as well? And I'm like, well, I didn't know you did any legal work, but yeah, cool, let's do it. So literally, like, you never know who has the connections and who will give you the opportunities that you're looking for. Absolutely. Okay, perfect. So let's go into a couple of those things in a little bit more detail. So I know you mentioned about working at a number of different places to get some work experience. And I think for me, at one point, I was very, very interested in pursuing a career in family law, but I did find it kind of hard to get work experience. So at least with criminal law, you can kind of have a lot more access to like walking in courts and meeting lawyers there. But I don't necessarily think it's the same for family law.
Yeah.
How did you get your family law work experience?
You're definitely right. I think because a lot of the stuff is so confidential, and asking clients, do you want someone who, not because you won't be a trainee, because you're doing work experience, a lot of them will look at you like, I don't really want that person sitting in who's here
for their personal business, right?
So personal, and people were a bit embarrassed to talk about family issues as well. But the way I did it was I wrote to a load of firms anyways, just whether me or not, like it was just to get that work experience so I could show I had looked into that field. Use LinkedIn as well. Like, do reach out to lawyers as well, message them, find out what their days are like. Barristers as well. So even if you do want to become a solicitor, it's still worth getting work experience with barristers, because they a lot of the time are attending court, so you can go and shadow them and go with them. Because they're self-employed, they have a lot more kind of autonomy and flexibility. Because obviously we're employed by firms, majority of us, it can be difficult getting confidential information. Even just doing a Google search like work experience at law firms, you'll find quite a lot of firms do offer family law work experience. So again, go through applying that way. Obviously vacation schemes if you want to do a more kind of formal route. Other things I did as well, so obviously writing, use your contacts, anyone you know or anyone you can find, and even once you've done a bit of work experience, keep in contact with those people as well afterwards.
Absolutely.
Down the line, you might need them, or they might come in handy, or you could do something to help them. So I think do that, and also use things such as citizens' advice and other pro bono initiatives. Domestic abuse is something that's been massively on the rise during the pandemic. There's loads of organisations who need help. That is another way of getting into family law, because we work really closely with these organisations to get work and to support these victims. So you can do that. I know obviously court's quite difficult because it's quite other things you can do as well. I'm just trying to think.
I think great tip so far.
I'm having a think as well. I'll come back to you on that one, because I know that there were others. I think
no, that's a lot. So contacting them directly in terms of sending emails or letters out to law firms, LinkedIn, like I think those are definitely great ways. Citizen advice, definitely great ways to kind of interact with family lawyers, get their input and their advice on pursuing a career in family law, and obviously work experience. I think a point you mentioned about keeping in contact is so important. Like, a lot of people will do the work experience for that 1 or 2 weeks, get it on their CV and kind of move on to the next. But again, you never know the opportunities that you'll get from that one person. And like, an experience that I can give is back in 2012, I met an employment judge at like a commercial law event, and I still speak to him today. And as a result of that one contact, I've done employment law work experience, I've done media work experience, I've done human rights. Like, you never know how much extra work people can give you, extra experience. So I think it was a great point that you made. Okay, perfect. So I know you mentioned that you did a number of different training contract seats, and immigration was one of them. And we've just got a question through about immigration. How did you find that? I know you said it wasn't really you, but what was the work like in immigration law?
I think, do you know what? Like, it is one of those areas as well that does have crossover with family law, because obviously you've got people now who do obviously have relationships with people abroad or have children. So it is interesting. I found it quite pressured though, because I felt like a lot of thing on my shoulders with things like appeals a lot. So during the time I did the work experience, it was a lot to do with like appeals, so we were decisions. But it is an interesting area, and it does have a lot of crossovers in other areas as well. I wouldn't just write it off just because it wasn't for me.
Of course.
Area, because there's loads of law firms that obviously offer it, and I guess with things like obviously Brexit and all those other things that are happening, it must be a very, very kind of busy area at the moment,
and also an area that keeps changing, like definitely. So
I think it's quite technical as well. So obviously if that's something like one of your kind of positive skills that you've got, it's definitely an area. But I think, like with anything, just try it, like try and get the experience in it and see whether you like it first of all, because it's all good and well. For example, like criminal, I absolutely love studying, but then you heard all these kind of different stories about going to the police station at like 4 a.m. So
it put you off, right?
I thought I could not do that. But there is different things. So obviously I think the best thing to do is just reach out and just speak to people who work in the field, because I know it's quite difficult at the minute to get direct experience. So just network with other lawyers and ask them, what is it like, kind of a typical day, what kind of jobs you do. So particularly for immigration, do reach out and see if you can find immigration lawyers who can just let you know what they do and see if that appeals to you. Or is it you've read that's interesting you, or is it actually what you'll be doing?
Of course. And I think that's a good point about like studying an area and then doing it in practice and finding out it's actually very different to what you thought it was going to be like. So in terms of like your family law work experience, what type of work did they allow you to do as a work experience student? Was that what you expected it to be like?
I think the first thing that shocked me was how much admin we do as lawyers. I kind of had this idea in my head where we would just be talking about the law every day.
Mm-hmm.
Cases together. And don't get me wrong, you do put all your cases together and you do research a lot of stuff as well. But a lot of the time you do spend replying to emails. So obviously clients are contacting you.
Mm-hmm.
That does take up a lot of your time during the day, and that was one of the things that did really shock me of how long we were kind of spending on emails and phone
filling out paperwork and
that obviously was a bit of a shock. But obviously you can get your teeth into stuff, like obviously you do build your cases and all those kind of things. When I was doing my work experience, they didn't let me do anything to do with children, because there is a lot of like confidential information. The kind of the work experience I got to do was more to do with divorce and finances.
Okay.
Because that's quite figure based.
Yeah.
You see, apart from obviously how much people are how much money they've got and what they're divided, but that was about it really. It was only until I started my training then I was allowed to do more of the children's stuff. But as I said, like if you do want to go into more of the kind of like children's stuff, look for kind of charities that work with kind of children as well. So like NSPCC as well, because we do get work from these organisations as well. So that would be your way of getting insight. You could be a volunteer. Obviously, a lot of these organisations need that support.
Wow.
So, yeah,
I never thought about applying to charities, so that's a good thing to know.
It's really easy.
Okay, so with that being said then, why did you ultimately decide to qualify into family law? What was it about family law that you really enjoyed or you really liked?
I think for me, like going into law, I wanted to do something. I like client interaction. I like speaking to people. So commercial wasn't really for me. I mean, I did try some firms doing work experience in there, and I didn't really like just kind of checking things like board meeting requirements. I'm not saying that's all they do. Obviously, there's it's an amazing area, but it wasn't for me. In terms of family, I like that satisfaction of feeling like I'd made a difference for someone. Obviously, there's so many things going on around the world at the minute, and just to be able to do something really small for someone that makes such a huge difference. For me, that's what gets me going every day, and that's what really sparks my kind of fire to do this job. Otherwise, because I think with a career in law, you've got a really long career ahead of you, and you get up every day with kind of fire in your belly to want to do what you need to do. If you're going to go into an area where you're bored out your head, you're not going to have that kind of fight for your client and kind of going for that outcome. But with family law, I feel like I saw the difference it made to people's lives, whether it being like them kind of leaving a horrible relationship or sorting out their marriage, getting financial independence, whatever it was, you just see this really lovely picture at the end. And I'm not saying we get there overnight. Obviously, there is a lot that goes into it, but that's obviously up to today is what keeps me going and why I really like family law.
No, I completely get that. And like as back in the day, I was very much into like more with the people areas of law where you're interacting with people. And I think that's why I got into like residential property, because you're helping people buy houses. And like you said, you're helping people kind of sort out a very emotional time in their life or a very rewarding time in life, depending on what you're dealing with. So I completely get that. And I think I had a couple of questions from people with regards to how emotional family law is as an area. How have you found that side of family law? Have you found it to be quite daunting and emotional, and how have you dealt with that?
I think that's a really good question, and I think that's definitely something I would have wanted to address for anyone who wants to go into it. I don't think it was something I thought too much about myself, and I think it's something people really do need to think really strongly about if you want to go into this area. It is very emotional. I think it depends how you're built as well. I've got colleagues who are quite thick-skinned, so for them it's 9 to 5, you're done with your cases for the day. If you're a person more like me,
you hold on to everything.
Or anything I've read or anything I've seen or anything that's happened to a family, I feel like I take that on my shoulders too, and I feel like I really want to do something to help. Obviously that does tend to sometimes flow into your evenings because you're just so committed to wanting to make some kind of change. I guess if you I guess it works both ways. You do need to be emotional, 100%, because we're dealing with people. So if you're like a robot, clients are not going to come to you. They're not going to want to you. They're not going to feel comfortable. The other end of it is you also need to kind of have a boundary that you don't take too much emotional stress on yourself, because obviously at the end of the day, it is a job. And that's what I have to keep reminding myself of. It is a job. And you have your own life. You've got your own families, you've got your own kind of friends and things like that. And obviously you'll have other things going on in your personal life. So you need to be able to kind of keep some emotional space for yourself to obviously look after yourself and deal with your own problems and everyone else's, not just obviously everything coming from work. So it is something I think you need to really, really think carefully about. And if you've got a good routine of how you're going to kind of separate work from your personal life, then that's brilliant. I think it'll be well suited. And if you have got quite thick skin, you're not kind of traumatized by not what you read. But saying that, I know lawyers who are over 20 years qualified who still cry sometimes at things they've read, because we are dealing with really, really emotional
real life issues. Yeah.
Stuff you couldn't even imagine going on, like happening to kids and people in today's society. In a country like England, it's heartbreaking, but it does happen, unfortunately. So that is something you need to be quite thick-skinned about, and just kind of keep focused on. Obviously, you're doing the job.
Yeah, of course. I think that's such a good point, because I am like an emotional person, and so that's why I had to rule out things like family and criminal.
Yeah,
I was like, I could cry for days. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. So yeah, it's definitely important to be thick-skinned, and like you said, be able to like differentiate between work and home, and kind of have that line and that cut off where you kind of switch off a little bit at least. So yeah, that's a good point. I think with family law also, I had some questions with regards to work-life balance, and I think you touched on it when you said 9 to 5. I'm not sure if you meant 9 to 5, but what is family law like in terms of work-life balance? Because you're dealing with office stuff, but sometimes you may have court or whatever else. What is that like?
So I think it's one of the areas where you can strike a good balance. I know it depends what firm you work for as well, actually, because I think some firms have a reputation of obviously really late hours and really long nights, and I think that's just across the board. Saying 9 to 5, I think it depends how you organise your time, but being realistic as well, I wouldn't say it's a 9 to 5 job. I don't think any lawyer's job that I know is 9 to 5, even though that might be like your official working hours.
It's never really reality.
I think what kind of separates us from other careers is obviously we've got that drive to want to do the best for our clients, so that will keep you keep you
going into the night.
So there is that as well. I mean, I'm guilty of it. It's not because the firm has told me you need to work at this time, but sometimes I am literally just thinking, I really want to get this done and I need to get this done. You're going to push yourself to get it done for your client. So yeah, I think you can strike a balance, but I think there obviously is a fine line, because you don't want to burn out and you don't want to absolutely exhaust yourself. So you need to be able to say, well, okay, if I have worked late this day, tomorrow I might take a longer lunch break. You need to balance it, because otherwise you're going to burn out and it's not going to be good for anyone, really. So yeah, it is about balancing it. But like I said, I won't lie, it's not a definite 9 to 5. As I don't think anyone's job is definitely 9 to 5 in this industry, but I think it's all worthwhile, particularly when you're junior. You want to show what you can do. So if you get positive results to your clients, then it's only working in your benefit, really, to obviously help you later on down the line.
No, definitely. I think it's true that when you're passionate about something, time escapes you. So you're doing something, you're reading something, you're writing something, you look up and 2 hours have gone by and you've definitely gone past 5 p.m. So
that's it, yeah. Like, what is even dinner nowadays? So yeah,
definitely. So in terms of being a family and child law solicitor, what are your day-to-day tasks like? Like, what are you doing on a standard day-to-day?
Where do I
start? I'm sure it's varied.
Things with family law is because it's so varied, so you're never doing the same thing. So if you're someone who gets bored easily, you won't be bored in family law. You'll always have something to do. So on a day-to-day, so it depends. So if I've got like a court hearing, I do more of the kind of the junior court hearings. I wouldn't put myself in a situation doing more of the complex ones, just because I don't feel like I'm there yet. So I'm like a barrister, but I try to do the more junior hearings. If obviously you've got a court hearing, at the minute it's working quite nicely because we're working remotely. You're not waiting around for hours like we would be doing when we used to go to court until everyone was ready for us. So, but obviously prior to COVID, we could go to court at like 10 o'clock and sometimes you might not be seen till like 4 o'clock. So you were just sitting around, they had time to see you, really. Now obviously we get a nice scheduled time, which is great. You're on a video call and obviously you do your hearing. So if I've got a hearing, that will take up majority of my day. On days where I have a hearing, I might work a bit later because obviously then I've missed my emails and stuff coming through because I've been court. Other things we tend to do, so drafting things like witness statements for clients. So that can be things on contact arrangements. Maybe they're looking at who the child's going to live with, why the client wants the child to live with them. It can also involve things like social services work. So if social services are looking to remove my client's children or they've got concerns, we'd want to obviously do responses to that, prepare us, maybe read reports. It's so varied. Or even like finances, maybe I'm doing a divorce that day, I need to put together an asset schedule or make an offer to the other side. It is really varied, and you'll always have kind of more tasks than what you can fit in a day, really.
Always.
I love the to-do list and just crossing it. But yeah, it is definitely very, very varied. So it just completely depends. But some family lawyers, particularly as they go on as they get more experience, they will just specify in one area.
Okay.
Some lawyers who work in the field who only do divorce and finance, they won't touch any children work. Or you might have some that only do, say, children work. Just because it's a lot. And as you go on, it's not physically possible to take in all these areas.
Spread yourself in everywhere, yeah.
But when I think you're quite junior, you're happy to take on whatever you can to get that experience. So at the minute, I keep my palette quite varied because I just want to take on whatever I can so I can learn. And then I guess later on, if I decide I don't want to do one anymore, at least you've got your options.
You can let one go.
Exactly.
Oh, that makes sense. Because I honestly thought that family lawyers would do everything to do with family law. So if they get a client, they'll just do everything. So that's interesting to know that they would take one section of family law and just focus on that.
Yeah, exactly. I think because there's just so much to obviously learn and to do. And I think as you go on in time, I think you develop a preference to what you prefer, whether you want the finance side of stuff and if you like numbers and things like that, or whether you want to get more involved in the emotional side of things with children. So I think it's good because it gives you those options. So you won't be stuck, and obviously you can write off a bit of an area if you don't want to do it, really.
Sure. No, that definitely makes sense. So with that being said also then, so because family law is so varied and it's always changing. So like you said, recently there's been an increase in domestic violence because everyone's at home 24 hours a day. And then I think I read recently that they're bringing in the whole no-fault divorce. So constant changes in the area of law. Yeah. How is it that you keep up to date with all of those changes? Is that something you do independently? Is that something that your law firm kind of gives you information on regularly? How does that work?
So you've got a responsibility yourself to keep up to date. That's just kind of when you qualify as a solicitor in any area, you've got a duty to make sure you've acquired like the necessary knowledge you need for that year, and focus on any skills you're not at your strongest in, basically. So the way I do it is there's a online website called Family Law Week, and it was about just shy of over £100, and basically you get access to so many updates on there, and they send them to you regularly. So I think it's almost on a monthly basis for finance, children, domestic abuse, all of that. And it will show you kind of recent cases that have happened, what the judgments are, and you can read through them in your own time, and then you answer questions on them.
Okay, test your knowledge.
Yeah, to be honest, I think it's really great because then if you have got a similar case that's come up, you can remember like, oh, I read that judgment, and actually, no, the law has changed now, and that's what we're saying, and you can kind of come forward and argue that. And because they keep you up to date quite regularly, you might be one of the first that have had a chance to look at this, which is really so that's brilliant. Other things I use as well is the Law Society does these handbooks every year, which not every year, most times every year. And they're basically updated of anything you need to know, anything that's changed in practice. So there is that as well. My firm, every Tuesday, we have like a meeting. So we had one, and it's basically an opportunity to share any knowledge of anyone who's picked up anything new in a case, learned anything else, or the rules have changed. We kind of have that opportunity to share all that together. Also, we just ping emails to one another, like, has anyone seen this case?
Yeah, keeping everyone up to date on the same page.
Great, so we all know, and then obviously if someone's had a first hearing with a new law that's been passed, they can kind of fill us in and like, well, this is what happened, or this is how the judge interpreted it. And also, if you do want to stay up to date, at the minute they're doing loads of free webinars, a lot of barrister chambers. Okay. Family law webinars. You'll find so many barrister chambers are offering these recordings that you can join in. and just watch them. Basically, they're a free resource. They're amazing. I definitely recommend them, and they're taught by very well experienced people in the field. So that's another great resource to use as well.
Is there anywhere in particular where you'd find like information about when the webinars are being released, or is it just a case of Googling?
On the Chamber's website, and you can sign, and they will send you then like the Zoom links, and even after they put the recordings up as well, and they send the notes around, which is brilliant. Nice. So really, really helpful at the minute. It's one of kind of positive things I think that have come out of the pandemic.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, it's true. A lot of law firms are advertising themselves on LinkedIn or on their website by doing these webinars and these talks where they're kind of showing the legal knowledge they have. So I think that is definitely, everyone's become more techie because of COVID. So
it's great.
That's definitely a good resource. So in terms of people who are thinking about pursuing a career in family law, is there any specific advice you have for them? Like anything you wish you knew before that you haven't covered so far?
I think the one thing I would say is just don't give up. So the highs and the lows, that's normal.
Very normal.
Just don't give up. If it's something you really want to do, obviously stick with it and see it through. And also, don't feel shy. I think one of the things I feel like I wish I was more confident earlier on in my career, because I think I held myself back quite a bit from certain opportunities. Whereas, obviously, since I've qualified, I think maybe it's kind of given me a bit of Dutch courage, where I feel like I want to push myself out and do more kind of like open myself up to more opportunities. Whereas obviously I probably wouldn't. I'd probably be the quiet person and just let other people. Yeah. But that doesn't help you. And it's always one of those where you need to take control of your own career if you want to make it and if you want to like do really well. So do put yourself out there. Don't be shy. Like you say, you don't ask, you don't get. So
literally.
So that's something I wish I did a lot more. Even as early as law school, I think. Just be really active and go to networking events. I was always quite shy to go to these events because I thought, what on earth would I talk about? But do them, definitely do them, because they are useful and you just never know when things are going to come in handy. So yeah, I think those would be a few things I'd do.
No, I definitely agree. I think any opportunities I've had, like you just have to keep putting yourself out there, keep meeting people, keep doing your research, keep networking, go to these type of networking events with questions so that you're there ready to learn more. I could not agree more. I think that's definitely important for any aspiring solicitor, family law or otherwise.
Definitely.
Cool. Okay, so I think I've got a couple questions here, so I'm just going to read what questions we haven't covered. Are there any legally related books you would recommend around family law or just generally?
I would say the Law Society handbooks, definitely.
Okay, yeah.
So these ones, this is a bit outdated, so obviously every year, but definitely the family law and practice one. This is great. It gives you all examples of like forms, so you can practice filling in stuff that we do on a day-to-day basis, and also loads of mistakes on the law and how to advise. So I definitely recommend that as well.
Nice. Thank you for that. I have another question. How do you apply for the charities that you mentioned?
So definitely go onto their websites, and they usually have like an email address, and just drop them an email, obviously just explaining that you're a law student or whatever your background might be. It's an area that you're you're interested in getting into family law. How can you help, basically? And through that, a lot of these organisations do need volunteers, and they will give you training as well. There are like citizens advice as well. They will train you to be able to advise people, and check with your law school, because a lot of law schools have pro bono clinics where they offer legal advice, so that's definitely worthwhile. Another thing I would recommend is get in contact with your careers department too. So at law school, that's what I did as well, and they had loads of kind of places and job vacancies they could show you, and that were offering this. So just start with obviously things you can easily access, and from there you'll be able to broaden out and
branch out.
Yeah, I think once you get a few, or once you get one legal work experience behind you, it's a lot easier to get more, and that's what I found. Getting the first one was so
always the hardest.
But once you keep going and getting more and more, you'll just find that then like it's so much
everyone's willing to take you then.
Because they're like, oh great, like all these firms thought like they wanted to take you, so I'll take you now. So yeah, definitely just keep going like that.
Definitely, yeah. I think law school and legal careers services, definitely they will have, if they don't have any thing advertised, they'll definitely be able to put you in the right direction, and then you can start your journey like that. So I think great question and great answer. Another question is, just Tanisha, would she be able to name drop the forms she applied to for the training contract, please? The firms, I think, she applied to for training contract.
Contracts. They haven't got like a full thing. What I will do though is I won't go into like the specific names. After this, I can send a list of current places that are advertising, if that would help.
Okay.
The training contracts, and I might put in obviously some of the firms that I did it at. So
I think that's a sticky one.
Yeah,
I think if you're
of ones I know are definitely advertising and that do take on work experience through writing. So if that would help, I can do that.
Okay, that's great. I think also if you're just looking generally for a firm who practices in family law, you know, has a family law department, if you check out the Legal 500 or Chamber Student online, then they rank different law firms based on different practice areas. So if you just put in family law in a search box, and they will tell you all the firms that practice family law and then where their rankings are. And then you can just start looking into the firms and doing your research and deciding what firm you think you'd like to apply for a training contract. So yeah, there are resources out there. Great. Let me see if there's any more questions that came through the comments. This has been such an informative live. Honestly, I really wanted to do family at one point, but I just got too emotional. But to know that is accessible.
Right.
It's great. Okay, perfect. I think that is all the questions.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much for doing the live. I don't know if anyone else has more questions that they want to pop through really quickly before we end. No,
but if anyone has got any other questions, obviously they haven't had a chance to ask them now, or they might think of something later, they can feel free to obviously send you or myself a DM. I'm more than happy to answer it afterwards. Not a problem.
Perfect. Yeah. So do you want to tell them your Instagram or however else they can contact?
Yeah, my Instagram is law_and lifestyle. So just feel free, drop me a message or a comment, and I'll get back to you obviously as soon as I can with any questions you've got.
Perfect. Okay, one last question then. What are some of the key skills that family solicitors need?
Top one I'd say is listening. You've got to be a good listener. No client wants to come and see you and feel like you're just not
listening to them.
You've got to be patient as well. I think you've got to bear in mind that a lot of the clients that come to you, you're going to be the first person they've ever spoken to about these really personal and private problems. You need to have patience. You're not going to get all the information you need in your first meeting. It might take 2 or 3. There might be a lot of tears, a lot of upset, a lot of anger before you actually get to the kind of meat
of what is actually going on.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got to be patient. And the third skill as well, I think you've just got to be you've obviously got to have good written communication skills too. We do a lot of drafting documents and statements from your client's point of view, so you need to be kind of really good at doing that, and also explaining things to your client. Not using this really fancy, complex legal jargon. Just be down to earth with them and just say it how it is, really, so they understand what it is you're doing. No one wants, especially family clients, they don't want to know all these fancy words that you're throwing around.
They don't care about the cases or the history. They just want to know how it all applies to them in simple terms.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think those would be the key skills I would say you definitely need. Teamwork, because obviously there'll be days where you don't know everything and you rely on like your teammates or other resources for just people to give you like their kind of experiences and what they would suggest you do in these situations as well, and just to help one another. Like obviously, like I said, the emotional aspect of it, you need to be able to support your teammates, and obviously them obviously to be there for you if you're having kind of a bad day, or maybe you haven't had a really great day in court, whatever it may be. So yeah, definitely I'd say teamwork as well on that one.
So important. And I think you even mentioned earlier also about having empathy, because like you said, like they come to you about really emotional, stressful situations sometimes, and just empathizing with them, it goes with the whole listening and communication thing. I think I can imagine be very important.
Definitely.
Oh, one more question I didn't see, sorry. What would you suggest doing the summer before uni?
Doing summer before uni, I would,
in the middle of, studying, how we best use the time that they have in the middle.
Okay. I know it can be difficult, obviously, because some people are working or not. Obviously, I I was working obviously throughout my degree, but I still managed to fit in obviously work experience. So I think you can do it. It's just about being smart.
Managing your time, yeah.
I would say start actively looking. It's never too early to start actively looking. So even if you can do odd things like insight days, even if it is 1 or 2 days, as we were saying earlier, the more you get of these little kind of odd work experiences, eventually they'll build up to bigger and better opportunities. So things like that. Read up and keep up to date, obviously, with updates. Because just in case you do get an interview, you want to be ready. You don't want to then cram about family law and then starting saying about what's interesting, like why you're interested, and all of just basically coming out of the blue. So yeah, basically read your updates, reach out, obviously, just start applying to places. I'd say even if you feel like you haven't got enough work experience, just do it. Like you've got enough to use. And even things like essay competitions. So if there are family law questions and stuff like that, do apply for them, because it will show that you've got an interest in that field. So do that, and also volunteering. Like charities, definitely kind of do some volunteering work as well, because that will all really work in your favour. And also, even if it's not a direct area linked to family law, it will just show that obviously you've got that skill, that you want to help others, and that will obviously assist you when you do obviously get your training contract as well.
Absolutely. Any volunteering in the community will just show that you're able to speak to a number of different types of people. You're able to empathize on different topics. You're able to communicate. So as mentioned, even if it's not family law work experience directly, the more engagement you have with people on a law type matter, the more they can kind of have confidence that, law is something you want to pursue, and you're starting to gain the necessary skills for that. So yeah, definitely important.
Brilliant.
Thanks again for everyone who sent in questions. Thank you, Anisha, for joining.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for watching my live, guys. I hope you found that Q&A very useful. If you have any questions at all, feel free to drop them in the comments box below, and I will definitely make sure to get back to you with any questions or queries you have. If you like this video, please do give this video a thumbs up and share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Of course, this is part of my legal practice series, so feel free to check out any of the other videos that I have done on pursuing a career in law, and stay tuned for my next video. Bye, guys.